Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Today we have a new exciting book that we want to sell to you, and it's How to Sell a Product. The key purpose of this book is to show you techniques with communication, persuasion, and also how to close a deal with your potential consumer. The most important thing is to relate to your client. You need to be very distinctive, and then you need to convince the client that there is a need, that they cannot live without this product. So being distinctive, and I'll use coffee makers as an example. You have your traditional coffee maker, which you pour in the coffee beans, you have the filters, and you brew your coffee. 90 minutes or 90 seconds later, your coffee is done, and then everyone can drink their cups of coffee. Or you have the new Keurig coffee maker, where you have individual coffee packs. So if you have guests, or if your husband decides he wants decaffeinated and you want caffeinated coffee, you actually have the leisure of creating all these coffees within the same amount of time. It takes 30 seconds. It's easy cleanup. There are no filters. And there are no scoops of coffee. You never make it too strong, never make it too light, and it's something that is good for someone that's on the run. So in these situations, you're being very distinctive, but you're also convincing them that you can't live without the product. You're going to speed up their time in the morning for getting ready. You're going to accommodate all the guests that come over, and you're going to be able to accommodate anyone that likes a different style or flavor of coffee. You're going to ease the cleanup. You're not going to have to clean the coffee pot every time. You're not going to have to clean up the coffee grounds. You're not going to have to worry about the filters. So again, it's being very distinctive. So once you establish what you're selling, and you're very distinctive in what you're selling, and you're convincing the customer you cannot live without this item, then you need to start developing the relationship with that customer. The key thing is, and which you'll hear throughout our entire presentation today, is eye contact, body language. When you're making the persuasion, the pitch to persuasion, you want to make sure that you read the body language of the potential client. If they're sitting with their arms crossed and do not look engaged in the conversation, you know you need to lean into that customer. Make sure you maintain eye contact at all times and try to engage them in this product. Visual aids are very good. Place the patient or the consumer in a setting in which they would drink coffee outside on the veranda and cold morning, cool morning, and present them with the coffee cup. But this is very important that they actually visualize themselves with the coffee cup.
There are several reasons a customer decides to buy a product. The top reason a customer will be motivated to buy your product is due to need. For example, you need clean clothes and you are out of detergent. You'll be motivated to buy some next time you are at the store. Secondly, customers are motivated to buy your product over the competitor's product due to value. In your sale, you must highlight your product's quality and quantity. Customers will like the most bang for their buck. Thirdly, customers are motivated to buy from product recognition. If you are buying a toothbrush, would you buy Colgate or the Walmart brand if everything else is the same, including price and quantity? This is where you will need to drive in the need for your product and its value if you are selling something new and unseen. Showcasing need and value can be difficult during your pitch. You can start by asking qualifying questions. How do you make sure your customer is a good fit for your product? Ask. Open a dialogue and find out if they need what you are selling. Does the current product your customer uses meet all of their needs? How can your product outperform the customer's current product? Remember to maintain eye contact with your potential customer. Be conscious of your nonverbal cues and maintain a dynamic disposition. It is much easier to sell a product when the buyer trusts the pitchman. Stanley Bronstein, professional member of the National Speakers Association, founder of Achievement IQ movement, and creator of the Laws of Positioning, gives us 5 ways to establish trust in his blog. Let's focus on 2 of them. Be daring. State what your product does and prove it. The root of truth is trust. Never should you make false claims of your product. This will only hurt future product releases. If you always tell the truth, you will be trusted. Establishing trust is an ongoing effort, but once started, the communication lines are open. Maintaining the communication is easy for highly skilled pitchmen. So how do they do it? From USA Today's Ask an Expert, Steve Strauss says that Uber salespeople listen closely to answers of strategic small talk questions. Doing so, and they will find out what their customers' needs are. They then will be able to pitch how their product satisfies these needs. Salespeople also don't control the conversation. They guide it by asking questions they already know the answer to. Normally, for effective communication, you want an open-ended question that allows conversation to develop. But we're trying to make a sale. Questions need to be asked so the answers point to the product you are selling.
Now that you have your motivational techniques and you're ready to go, you've motivated the client, you've engaged them, you've been very clear in the product that you are selling, and you're listening to their needs, you're asking questions, you're probing. Now you're getting ready to close the deal, basically. But you've got to go through a few different things before you close that deal. You've got to develop the trust with that client. You're doing this throughout the entire sale. As you're listening to them, you're telling them about the project. But now it's time to be daring. You need to prove that the product works. You need to be completely honest with the product. And you need to also lead the conversation. But you need to make sure that the consumer feels that they're guiding that conversation. So when you probe them with questions, going back to the coffee maker example, you probe them with questions. How often do you drink coffee? And the potential consumer is going to tell you how often they drink coffee, if it's on the weekends or if it's every day that they're running by the store, they're getting up and they're brewing the coffee, or their coffee is set on a timer. They're going to tell you, and then you can ask, well, how often do you drink flavored coffee? How often do you drink strong coffee versus medium coffee? Do you like to have a cup of coffee with your morning paper? You probe those questions, and then you begin asking the client, can you see yourself with this product? Make them visualize themselves using your product and convince them that they need the product. All the while, you're using your communication techniques. You're maintaining eye contact. When the client is speaking to you, you're not fumbling with your BlackBerry or looking up or yawning, but you're looking at them directly in the eye and you're listening. You're doing your nods. You're doing your yes, I understand. You're acknowledging what they are saying. And you don't want to be invasive with their space, but you want to lean into that client and you want to ensure that they understand that you're listening to them. You're on their side. But as you go through coaching your client, you also want to be very daring. That's the biggest thing with selling the product. And being daring is asking those questions, is saying, are you ready to close that deal? Don't be afraid with communication to ask what you want, to find the answer of what you're trying to achieve through communication. Oftentimes you can talk in several different scenarios. You can talk around the subject, but go directly to the subject. Are you willing to buy today? How can we set up these payment arrangements so you can take this product home with you today? So in closing, I want to thank you all for participating with us and helping us to sell our book on how to sell a product. We really feel that this is an effective book and it gives you the tools that you need for communication. And in sales, you're not selling the product, you're basically getting a customer to buy the product. And through that, it's through relationships. It's making sure you're on the potential consumers' grounds or their living quarters where you can actually engage with them, put them in a place where they're comfortable, where they can really visualize themselves, but also listen to them intently, understand their needs, and probe questions when questions are appropriate to lead that conversation and to have them guide that conversation with your questions that you probed. But with all of these techniques, I hope that you will be successful in your sales. Thank you.